This is time for story time with Gina. It is 8:30 p.m. and thank you for tuning in. And we're going to look into the Dogon star. And I've not really heard much about it before. I've heard of it, but it has the Sirius star correlation. It's connected, and you know, we have a Dogon tribe. Hello, Applebrooks, honey. We have a Dogon tribe in Africa. Let's read this right here one. You all, let me move myself over here, because if I try to read it like whatever, I'm not going to be able to read it too well. Sirius A is a bright star which can be seen in the western sky through the naked eye, but not Sirius B, its invisible companion. The Dogon people knew that Sirius B was very small, but very dense or heavy. Yet, its existence was proven only in 1970, when it was photographed for the first time by Western astronomers. I'm here. The Dogon tribe knew about the existence of the invisible star for thousands of years. They also knew that Saturn has 4 moons and has rings or halos around it, although these cannot be seen with powerful telescopes. You all, let me come over here and pull this up on here so we can see this. You all, I haven't never done anything on this before, but we've certainly heard of the Sirius. Hello there, Debbie McClure. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Let me make sure I got this muted. We got it going, you all. We do. That's right. Scrappy Dappy Doo. That's right. Hello, Midwest, Evolving Sylvia Neal. Hello, Nancy. Let me see if I can see. Yeah, hello, everyone. I got to get my shoes off. I want my feet get hot. Okay, I'm going to put myself on here. I am. So, Sirius B. Sirius B. I didn't know about a Sirius B. I've heard of the Sirius. And the Dogon tribe. Can y'all hear me? Are we doing good? We got it. We got it, you all. We have got it. Let me do this. This might be a little wild. Look, let's see where it's located, you all. There's all these things right here. See it right here. Gina, Dennett, you got it. Sirius C, Xylanthia, Sirius A, Sirius B. Wow. This is the genesis of African science, the Dogon map. Let's see what else they got. An orbiting star, 3 dots in clusters, Orion's belt, the Pleiades. So we know with the constellations, we got some constellations going on. And look at the pyramids, how they point Orion. I can't say that in Sirius. Okay, so we got it. The Dogon Nommos, Sirius Amphibious. Oh, Sirius Amphibious. Yeah, let's look at this for one moment. Let's check that out. If you're just tuning in, hello. Let's think about this. The precise origin of the Dogon, like those of many ancient cultures, is undetermined. Their civilization just emerged in much the same manner as the ancient Sumer and ancient Egypt. Wow, I didn't know that. The early histories are informed by oral traditions that differ according to the Dogon clan. Being consulted in archaeological excavation, much more of which needs to be conducted. Because of these inexact and incomplete sources, there are a number of different versions of the Dogon's origin myths, as well as differing accounts of how they got their ancestral homelands to the Bandigara region. The people call themselves the Dogon, but in the older literature, they most often are called the Habe, the Fulbe word meaning stranger or pagan. So we have carbon-14 dating, techniques used to excavate remains, inhabitants in the region of the arrival of the Dogon. So this is one of the things right here. We can look at this right here. I'm not going to read this one. I'm not. We can look at these little things, the Dogon tribe's dog star mystery. The priest said Sirius had a companion star that was invisible to the human eye. They stated that the star moved in a 50-year elliptical orbit around Sirius, that it was small and incredibly heavy, and it rotated on its axis. Now let's come back over here, you all. That's fine. I want to read this one right here. This is kind of interesting. The Dogon, Nommos, and Sirius B. In Mali, West Africa, lives a tribe of people called the Dogon. The Dogon are believed to be of Egyptian descent, and their astronomical lore goes back thousands of years to 3200 BC, before Christ. According to their traditions, the Sirius star has a companion star which is invisible to the human eye. This companion star has a 50-year elliptical orbit around the visible Sirius and is extremely heavy. It also rotates on its axis. So, Gina, what does it mean when something's rotating on its axis? Rotating axis. Well, we'll get a picture of it. Okay, there you go. It's kind of like doing like this. Rotation of Earth on an axis like that. It's just like spinning, rotating on an axis. It's just rotating. All right, we got that. Let's get back to this. The artist's conception of the Dogon's legendary Nommos. I've never heard of a Nommos. That's kind of interesting. It really is. Real interesting. This legend might be of little interest to anybody but the two French anthropologists Marcel Grelal and Germaine Dieletron, who recorded it from 4 Dogon priests in the 1930s. Of little interest, except that it is exactly true. So we're reading about the Dogon tribe and its connection to the Sirius constellation, Sirius A, Sirius B, and some other things there. And it's somehow tied back to the Dogon tribe. The star, which scientists call Sirius B. Oh, Gina, honey, can you get the right? How did the people who lacked any kind of astronomical devices know so much about an invisible star? The star, which scientists call Sirius B, wasn't even photographed until it was done by a large telescope in 1970. So how could they have had knowledge of it? That's really a very good question. The Dogon stories explain that also. According to their oral traditions, a race of people from the Sirius system called the Nommos visited Earth thousands of years ago. The Nommos were ugly, amphibious beings that resembled mermen and mermaids. Do you think that they could have been reptilian-like if they were amphibious? Because that's kind of interesting, just to hearing that they were amphibious. I don't know. I'm having to refresh my screen over here because I can't even see the comments. Yeah, we've got it. The reptoids. Let me type in Nommos and the reptilians. I really would love to see if the Nommos and the reptilians are the same. If there is a connection, the Nommos and reptilians. The fish people. No, they're fish people. The Nommo and the Numo are primordial ancestral spirits in Dogon religion and cosmogony venerated by the Dogon people of Mali. The word Nommos is derived from a Dogon, meaning to make one drink. Nommos are usually described as amphibious, hermaphroditic fish-like creatures. Fish-like creatures. Oh, look at this. We got, they could live on land, but dwelled mostly in the sea. They were part fish. Okay, well, now this reminds me, if they were part fish, like merfolk and mermaids and mermens, then there's a... Wait a minute. There are carvings of that. think I've got some of them on here. The carvings in stone etchings. Let me see. I may not have it. No, but we've seen that. You've seen that in, I think, Sumeria or something. Let's see if we can find it. Sumerian fish gods. Let's see if we can find it, you all. Okay, we got it. We got it. We have got it. There we go. So do you think that this would have been kind of like the Nommos? Because look at that. Mesopotamia. Look at this. The priests of Dogon, Oannes, ancient aliens, ancient artifacts. Wow. This is really interesting. Triton. Hello, baby chill. Mermaids. So they could have really existed. Well, they obviously existed. They're etched in stone. Wow. Babylon. Something fishy about the Pope's hat, they said. And look at this. I always thought this was kind of like the Anunnaki. But, wow. Looks kind of like a Cthulhu thing, you all, Gina. You're supposed to be reading a story. But I know, but this is really... And this is the symbol for Christianity, too. Fish. Also. Oh, my. Y'all, this is making me have a hot flash. It really is. Wait, I'm going to look at some of these pictures if I can shrink this screen down. Let us look at this. See the Pope's hat? The religious mitre hat, the priests of ancient Dogon fish worship. Wow. I think we did a video on this before. I really do. Look at this. Do they worship Dogon, the ancient fish god? Okay, that's enough of that. We're not going to get into that. We're not going to get into any of that. I'm supposed to be reading this right here. We're going to stick to the subject. Thousands of years ago, they also appear in ancient Babylonian, Akkadian, Sumerian myths. The Egyptian goddess Isis, who is sometimes depicted as a mermaid, is also linked with the star Sirius. The Nommos, according to the Dogon legend, lived on a planet that orbits another star in the Sirius system. They landed on Earth in an ark, made a spinning descent to the ground with great noise and wind. It was the Nommos that gave the Dogon knowledge about Sirius B. Did you ever hear of that? They landed on Earth in an ark? About that, Ulysses? Hello, William. That is so interesting. I wonder what that ark looked like. The Dogon ark. Couldn't wonder if we could look that up. What did the Dogon ark look like? I want to know it. Oh, we found it. That kind of reminds me of Noah's Ark, kind of, if it was a boat. But I don't know what it would have been. The Dogon Ark. What is it? Is it like an... Oh! You all, this is kind of interesting. It really is. There's something... a ship. Yeah. A ship. The fine Dogon Ark. I do know. What if it's one and the same, you all? Really? This is really interesting. The Dogon Ark. Okay, we got to get back to it, you all, because as we're going to find some lot more things. The Nommos were ugly amphibious beings. Okay, maybe that's according to whoever. They landed it, spinning descent to the ground with a great noise and wind. It was the Nommos that gave the Dogon the knowledge of Sirius B. The legend goes on to say that the Nommos also furnished the Dogons with some interesting information about our own solar system. You can see this thing follow an imagery line through Orion's belt, Canis Major, Sirius, and Orion. The Dogons, okay, the planet Jupiter has 4 major moons, that Saturn has rings, and that the planets orbit the sun. These were all facts discovered by Westerners only after Galileo invented the telescope. The story of the Dogon and their legends was first brought to popular attention by Robert K.G. Temple in a book published in 1977 called The Sirius Mystery. Wonder what it looks like. The Sirius Mystery. Let's see what that book looks like, because I don't think we got an image of it. You're going to have some tabs open here. A Sirius Mystery book. Oh, isn't that interesting? Look, I got this right here. Extraterrestrial life. Oh, look at that. It's that head that you see in some of the things etched in stone and carved in stone. That is interesting. Look, it's even in this type of writing. Okay, Gina, honey, let's get back to it. Okay. The science writer Ian Redpath and astronomer Carl Sagan made a reply to Temple's book, suggesting that this modern knowledge about Sirius must have come from Westerners who discussed astronomy with Dogon priests. The priests then included this new information into the older traditions. This, in turn, misled the anthropologists. I wonder what a Dogon priest looked like. I really want to know what they looked like. Now that we mention it, what did a Dogon priest look like? Let's see what they look like. Okay. These are some of the Dogon priests in Africa. Okay, let's see. Did ancient Romans. See, look, they got this carrion. They got the fish on their back and things like. We did a video on this Dogon priests, the Dogon tribe. Okay. Look at this. That's really interesting. Thank you for those hearts flying up the screen. This is a possibility considering Sirius B's existence was suspected as early as 1844 and was seen through a telescope in 1863. So when did the civilization, when did the mud flood happen? Was it in the 1800s? And is there any history that goes back any further that you can find if you do like the ancestries and stuff like that, you all? Let's see this. The ancestries, mud flood year. Tartaria, mud flood. 1800s. In recent years, let's look at this. This is the mud flood right here. You can see it was a big flood of mud. All right. In recent years, a new alternative world history claim has arisen from the internet, and it's a doozy. It revolves around an alleged worldwide cataclysm believed by adherents to have taken place somewhere in the 1800s. A disaster that wiped out a worldwide advanced civilization and allowed the nations as we know them today to rise up. The event was a mud flood in which several meters of mud washed in and buried the ground levels of houses, buildings everywhere. Those cities and towns were partially buried constituted the worldwide advanced civilization called Tartaria, which had free wireless energy and was populated at least in part by giants. It was a civilization reset. Out with the old and in with the new. And that new civilization is us. If this sounds too silly to be worth anyone's time to even listen to, then consider the fact that all of the hundreds of topic suggestions in the skeptoid queue, this is the one that I chose for this week. And I chose it for a good reason, so attend. So now we're sitting here looking at this. They didn't find out about the Dogon tribe until, what was it, you all? The Sirius B's existence was suspected as early as 1844, seen through a telescope in 1862. It doesn't seem to explain the 400-year-old Dogon artifact that apparently depicts the Sirius configuration and ceremonies held by the Dogon since the 13th century to celebrate the cycle of Sirius A and Sirius B. It also doesn't explain why the Dogons knew about the superdensity of Sirius B, a fact only discovered a few years before the anthropologists recorded the Dogon stories. So if they had an existence, if they had a knowledge of it, how did they know before 1800s? Well, according to this, we had a civilization. We had a reset. Civilization reset. Let me do this. No, I got it. Let me just do this. Civilization reset. Let's begin by surveying the evidence put forth for what some call the mud flood theory, and it takes us about 12 seconds to do. Find an old-timey black and white photo where people are digging, particularly if there's an old steam shovel or mule teams being employed, and it doesn't even matter what they're digging. You can say that they're digging out from the great depth of the mud that covered their city. Then find a modern photograph of any old building that has floors below grade, especially if it has a basement, windows peeking out, or if there's an excavation going on next door which has exposed its basement walls or foundations, and say that the building's lower levels were obviously buried by the mud. I don't want to sound too dismissive, but this is indeed the entirety of the evidence that has motivated these people to discard all of the known history and embrace this alternate version. Look at that. Do you want to hear about the mud flood? We're talking about the Dogon tribe, but that star, where did the mud come from? Well, I guess we're going to have to find out about the mud. Well, what about Noah's Ark? What about Noah's Ark? Could the mud came from that? The water covered the earth. Yeah. As far as the previous civilizations being named, Tartaria goes, this part is more interesting. As you may or may not know, Tartars, was the generic name used by the Europeans up until the middle of the 19th century for the people who inhabited the largely unexplored regions of Asia, including what we know now as Manchuria, Siberia, and Central Asia. Many pre-20th world maps showed these regions labeled simply as Tartary, and as geographical knowledge gradually increased, Manchuria and Mongolia became Chinese Tartary, Siberia became Great Tartary, and Central Asia became independent Tartary. These placeholder names quickly dropped out of use as the true place names and the nations became known. However, today, most people have no idea that such a large part of the world was called Tartary until recently. And when they watch the YouTube video showing how many old maps boldly label Central Eurasia with an unfamiliar name, it can be pretty surprising. In fact, it can be so surprising that it might leave a person open to an astounding explanation for it, such as a mud theory. Let's look at this Chinese Tartary. Let's see where this is at, you all. Let's look at this. What can we pull up? Can we pull up the Chinese Tartary? Let's see the map of it. We can do it. There it is. Tartaria. And then they just changed the maps. Let's do this. Tartaria, the mystery of the empire lost to history. Look at that. The Indian Ocean. Groenlande. This might be in a different language. Okay, but this is what it kind of looked like. So they say. This is not really a good one. Let's see if we can find another one. Independent Chinese Tartary. 1851, you all. So remember, there was no history of the Dogon until it was suspected as early as 1845. The possibility of Sirius B's existence was suspected as early as 1844, seen through the telescope in 1862. And then we have this right here, Tartary, which was, yeah, right there. So let's click that out of there. All right. I hesitate to overuse the term conspiracy theory because it often misused to refer to anything from UFO stories to urban legends to actual conspiracies, but this is indeed one. Believers claim that this ancient history of Tartaria as an advanced civilization and of the mud flood that destroyed it are covered up by today's world governments. Certainly the world governments would not cover up something as great as that there was like a mud flood. Certainly not. They conspire to keep it a secret, and they keep historians teaching a false history, the version you and I know. For this reason, this is not at all made clear so far as I could find, but nevertheless, a conspiracy theory it is. So do you think the mud flood was the same thing as Noah's flood? I'm going to see that. Mud flood and Noah's flood. Mud, flood, Noah, flood. Did it really happen? Whoopsie, Gina. Noah's flood is a story much older than the Bible. Evidence for a flood. The flood. Tartaria in the mud flood. It happened. I would just wonder. The mud flood, 1870, mud flood, Kansas City. Okay, I'm not going to look at this right there, but I'm going to get back to this thing right here. It's talking about this right here. The mud flood. How, Gina, I thought you was talking about the Dogon tribe. Well, and now you're talking about Tartaria and the mud flood. Well, they did not have any evidence of the Dogon, of the Sirius B or Sirius A until around 1840 something, which was kind of interesting because there was like a civilization reset in around the 1800s, according to this one theory and the mud flood theory. So that we came over here to find out why they didn't know about this Sirius B until such a time. But yet, the Dogon tribe people, they had knowledge of this way before then through oral tradition. So how on earth would that be possible? Okay, we're finding out how it's possible right here. Tartaria and the mud flood is truly a 21st century conspiracy theory in that it exists almost entirely on the internet, if not entirely. While some parts of the narrative go back centuries, and we'll talk about those, the whole thing as a single consolidated claim only goes back to around 2017. August of 2016 is when the first videos appeared on the mud flood. And this is a tool that allows you to see the popularity of specific things. YouTube is what drives a lot of these pop-up culture trends on the internet. So we should expect that we go to the YouTube to do search for the videos of the subjects that were posted in that date range. Look at this. Skeptoid listeners might remember the fact that this is how we found the original YouTube. Case 0, Finland does not exist. Conspiracy theory. Have you heard of that? Hello, O Rider. Have you all heard that? I've never heard of this. You all were talking about the Dogon tribe, and we've ended up in Tartaria. Tartaria. Oh my goodness gracious. We ended up in Tartaria mud flood. Finland does not exist. Oh my gosh. There is no Finland? Birth of a conspiracy theory? Wow, Skeptoid podcast. Well, we've all heard a lot about theories, the flat earth, the hollow earth, the world's governments all conspire to cover up the truth for some reason. Some of these are so bizarre, but they can only be jokes. So bizarre that they can only be jokes. None more so than the claim that Finland does not exist. The idea is that here we think that Finland is actually just ocean, and that Japan and Russia conspired to persuade the world that there is a country there to cover up the fact that Japan does unlimited fishing and whaling there with no international oversight. Today we're going to study the tale so trivially disproven as that can actually survive to become passionately believed by a small vocal group of conspiracy theorists. So according to this, Japan fishes in this area that's supposed to be Finland, and Finland does not exist. Okay, that was wild. That was really wild. Jenny, you're going on a goose chase. It's fine. It's fine. It is. Google Trends, Facebook, then you got all this stuff, all this things. We might be tempted to stop here. The debunking, they're trying to debunk it. So the mud flood. Now we're going back to the 1940s, you all, in 1918. The 1800s, recalling that the mud flood is claimed to have happened in the 1800s. My guess is that these photos appear to some undereducated people to be from that time period, making Wadlow one of the giants in Tartaria. Look, Tartarian giants populated the earth, and there are very, very high high doorways and stuff. Why kill all the giants? Okay, let's see this, you all. The whole idea of a great flood resets civilization is another way believers try to link this claim to the classics. I say to a lesser extent because legendary floods like that of Noah were said to be they would truly obliterate everything, while this new alleged mud flood simply dumped a meter or two of mud around the buildings and was relatively easily removed with workers. This raises a few points that are not persuasively argued, in opinion. Why did burying only the ground floors of these buildings cause society to lose its advanced technology, like free wireless energy? Why did it kill only all the giants, presumably, but the people tall enough to have been buried by it? Where did all the mud come from, and where did it go? Why was the alleged nation of Tartaria the only one that did not survive? And why did the Tartarian giants live in houses and buildings the same size as ours? And if all the world's nations are conspiring to cover this up, why are so many YouTubers and bloggers allowed to freely reveal anything without consequences? And of course, the perennial question for all conspiracy theories: what exactly are all today's national leaders gaining by covering it up? Why would they want to cover it up? For fear of collapsing the card house that is Tartaria and the mud flood? This is really interesting. Have you seen, let's look at this, you all. We're talking about the Dogon tribe. And this was about Tartaria. Let's see the Tartaria buildings and doors. They were massive. They were massive. Look how massive they are. Super tall. And it's kind of like the ones in the desert, like during the first Gulf War or something. They had great big like things like that etched out in the, I don't know, cliffs and stuff. Tartaria. Okay, yeah, these are massive giant doors for gods. Giant doors for gods. Uh-oh, we're not supposed to look at that. Sorry. You didn't want to show it. They don't want us to look at them. Jeannie, you're supposed to get back to this. Okay, I'm going to get back to the Dogon tribe. Right here. They didn't find out about Sirius B's existence until 1844, when they had a telescope in 1862. But the Dogons knew about the superdensity of Sirius B anyway. They knew. So they had to have some type of knowledge. It's important to remember that although many parts of the Dogon legends seem to ring true, other portions are clearly mistaken. One of the Dogon's belief is that Sirius B occupied the place where our sun is now. Oh, wow, that's interesting. Sirius B occupied the space where our sun is now. And physics clearly prohibits this. Okay. Also, if the Dogon believe that Sirius B orbits Sirius A every 50 years, why do they hold their celebrations every 60 years? Sirius A is the brightest star in the sky and can easily be seen in the winter months in the northern hemisphere. Look for the constellation Orion. Orion's belt are the 3 bright stars in a row. Follow an imaginary line through the 3 stars to the Sirius, which is just above the horizon. It is bluish in color. Sirius is only 8.6 light years from Earth. Astronomers said the first to suspect that Sirius had an invisible companion when he observed that the path of the star wobbled. In the 1920s, it was determined that Sirius B was the companion of Sirius and was a white dwarf star. The pull of its gravity caused Sirius' wavy movement. White dwarfs are small, dense stars that burn dimly. Sirius B is in fact smaller than planet Earth. 1 teaspoon of Sirius B is so dense that it weighs 5 tons. Wow. So now we're talking about the Dogon tribe. How did alien fishmen, Gina, let's see the fishmen. We're going to get the fishmen on here. Let's go. How did the alien fishmen, we got some pictures right here. Is right here. The alien fishmen. You can see them right here. They're talking about them. Look at that. The list of the water deities. Wow. Okay. How did they pay a visit to ancient Earth and give Dogon their knowledge? Or was Dogon's culture contaminated by Western visitors? Or could the Dogons have had ancient technical or non-technical means to find this information out? Or is the whole thing just a matter of coincidence? The question may be settled as larger and more powerful telescopes take a look at the Sirius system. And according to the legend, there is a 3rd star, it's Sirius C, and it is around Sirius C that the home planet of the Nommos orbits. Most scientists do not consider any part of the Sirius system a prime candidate for life, though. When Temple first issued his book in the 1970s, there was no solid evidence of a Sirius C. In 1995, however, 2 French researchers authored an article in the prestigious journal Astronomy and Astrophysics with the title, "Is Sirius a Triple Star?" and suggested, based on the observations, there is a small 3rd star there. They thought the star was probably of a type known as a red dwarf and only had about a 0.05 mass of Sirius B. So has the star, the home star of the Nommos, been discovered, or is it just another strange coincidence? So the Nommos and the Dogon tribe, this is what they posted. They said they were ugly, whatever, but that's not very nice. You ought to say it. It really isn't. Here's some more things. Dogon, the star people. See it? The star people. West Africa. There is an ancient tribe of people, and their religion is a strange and secret one. For many hundreds of years, the most profound teachings of their religion was closely guarded secret, available to only the highest Dogon initiates. In the 1930s, the anthropologist succeeded after more than a decade working amongst the tribe in gaining their confidence up to the point where the tribal leaders allowed some insights into their secrets of the religion. The highest ranking priests were not privy to the entire teachings. Each was responsible for the complex part of the complex system, which then, when placed together, made up the Dogon's knowledge. The anthropologists had to piece together the whole story for themselves from the sources. What they found stunned them. It was impossible knowledge. Have you all heard of them? The impossible knowledge that was given to them by visitors who came to Earth from another star system. The star they describe is known as Potolo, Sirius B, which resides in the same area of the sky as Sirius, the dazzling bright dog star of Canis Major constellation. Their knowledge of this star was shock because it is impossible to see with only the naked eye, and it is difficult to see with the telescope. In fact, it was not observed by Western astronomers till 1862, and they had, however, suspected its existence when certain irregularities were noted by its movements in 1844. They suggested there was another body, so we can look at that. The Hubble telescope of a tiny star. The detailed knowledge, the pole, describes the smallest of them. The white dwarf, you can see pictures, kind of looks like I want to say like an X chromosome. It does, like boom, like Sirius B. It has an elliptical orbit. It rotates on its own axis. Their astronomical knowledge includes the fact that the planets orbit the sun. The Jupiter has 4 main moons. Saturn has rings. They keep 4 calendars, one each for the sun, moon, Venus, and Sirius. This is the Dogon tribe stuff right there. You can see it if I make it shorter. Panet, a female Dogon figure whose head is represented by an altar, which are several heads of the amphibious. Ooh, wow. Bringers of knowledge. They were sent from the Sirius star system to Earth for the benefit of all mankind. The Nommos are also known to the Dogons as the monitors and the masters of water. The name Nommos comes from a Dogon word meaning to make one drink. The Nommos are said to have landed in the northeast of their homeland, spinning and whirling with a great noise and wind. It could have been a UFO spinning around. The vessel skidded to a stop, plowing up earth and spurting blood. That's kind of gross. After landing, it was said that the vehicle was dragged to a hollow by a thing with 4 legs, and the hollow then filled up with water, allowing the vessel to float. Well, that sounds like Noah's Ark. Fact or fable? So what are we to make of the Dogon story? Is it simply myth, an elegant story constructed to an account for the origins of the Dogon people, or is it a factual representation of something actually happened way back in the midst of time? So these are all the things. This is the Dogon tribe. And yeah, it's a star. The symbol like a fish, like the Christian religion is like a fish. And they were fish people. And if you remember, we looked at, well, they had a really good picture of it. The priest, like the Pope, they had the fish head like that, just like them. Something fishy about the Pope's hat. Boom, 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 boom. It really is. And we were looking for a Dogon Ark. This is what it looked like, because that's what they said. It was a Dogon Ark, and it kind of looked like a boat. It kind of reminded me of Noah's Ark with the water and stuff, because they made it float. And then they got depictions of it right here. So there's something really, really strange going on. Real strange. The Sirius mystery, and you can see they got the dog head. Where's that book at? Right there. That evidence of alien contact 5,000 years ago, you all. 5,000 years ago, but Earth had a reset in 1800s. then what happened to the history? What happened to the free energy? We had the mud flood that happened too. This is the Dogon. We're like fish-like people, but look at all the similarities. Dressed in scarlet. This is in Revelation. Dressed in scarlet. With the blood, with the glass of the wine filled with the blood of whatever. Yeah, this is like a Revelation. Apocalyptic, you all. That's about it. I think we've learned enough about this Sirius Dogon star system right there. And the Dogon tribe. And they didn't know much about it, but there was oral tradition. And it seems like some of the history that would have been there it disappeared. Like so much other history, just totally like disappears. Well, now you might know a little bit more. I know a little bit more background. There's still more pieces of the puzzle, but yeah, it's very interesting. It is. So I am going to go. This was Story Time with Gina. You all, we have done 46 minutes. It's about the same time. And thank you, moderators. Thank you all for everyone who has joined. Thank you for subscribing. Please give the video a thumbs up. Even if you don't want to, just do it to do it. Yeah. So with that being said, hello, wherever you are in any part of the world. Hello. From my heart to yours, love you. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. And thank you so much. Love you.